Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Corey and I are going to be talking through all of the amazing features of Breeze Volunteer Management. And we do have one of our amazing Breeze advocates joining us today, Jake Murphy. He will be handling all of our chat questions. And as always, if you ask a question and Jake is unable to get to that in our allotted time, please know that you can also email our support team with those questions. And at the end, we'll also talk about this, but you will be able to also find all of the information that we discussed today in our help center. We have documentation and amazing crafted articles that talk through each section of what we are going to briefly highlight today. And so if you cannot stay the whole time, we totally understand. Again, we appreciate your time and we know that it's so valuable. And so thank you for joining us today. My name is Emily, and I am currently the team lead of our Breeze team. And so I may have had the opportunity to get to interact with some of you before. And I have been here since 2017. So I really enjoy using Breeze. My church uses Breeze. And I just love everything that it has to offer. And then I get to work with Corey, and Jake is on my team. Many of you may have had a call with Jake or Zoomed with Jake or talked with Jake. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. But yeah, I'm a Midwest girl, so it's a little bit about me. What about you, Corey? What is your role? How long have you been with us?
Yeah, so my role, I'm a technical product manager. So basically, we have a whole product team here at Tithely. Our role is really to work we think of ourselves a little bit like a hub. We kind of are working in between CX and engineering and sales and just trying to help sort of shepherd things down the road to get projects and our products in good shape, to get new features built, to get bugs fixed, to get performance improvements happening. And so that's sort of what the product team does on a whole. My role, I'm the technical product manager, so I focus mostly on the technical aspects of that. So I'm kind of the nerd of our product group, and yeah, that's what I do.
Yes, we definitely need Corey on our team because I'm not as technical. So all of our problems, we just send them to Corey and he fixes them for us.
Or make them worse, one of the two. It's one way or the other.
One way or the other. Well, let's go ahead and jump in and we'll give you guys a brief overview of all of the volunteer features. So if many of you are familiar with Breeze and you're currently using this, we're just going to kind of get started with a few things. We're going to go over how to even get started with volunteer management and how you even locate where that is inside of Breeze, how you get that even set up. Once we show you where volunteer management lies and how to even get started, then we'll show you the ins and outs to scheduling volunteers. And then once we go over the schedule, we'll show you how to set those volunteer reminders. So after you've done all of that hard work, we don't want your volunteers to forget that they've been scheduled. So we'll go over reminders and then a few additional notes. And then we'll take just a few minutes to kind of go over some questions and answers and try to get all of those covered. And so let's go ahead. If y'all are ready, I'm ready. So let's get started with volunteer management. The very first thing you are going to want to do actually before step one is you're actually going to go inside your Breeze account and you're going to find the events section inside of Breeze. So all of our volunteer management is housed within our events section. So you're going to want to make sure that you have added and set up your event so that then you're able to set up your volunteers for that event. And so as you can see in our demo account, we have several events on the calendar. And so again, once you set up, we have a whole nother section in our Breeze Knowledge Help Center that talks about how to cover events and how to set them up. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. But once you do have your event set up, Corey, if you'll click into that for a second, you're going to see several different options. If you look in that far right bottom corner, you're going to see a section that says volunteers. Once you click on that, you're going to see it pop up, and you're going to see right here that Corey has a section in there called Preacher. Corey, can you click on Add Volunteers?
Yes.
Perfect. Actually, Corey, let me backtrack a little bit. Can you go all the way back out to the events again?
Yeah.
And let's see if there's one that
Let's
hasn't.
pick one that doesn't have. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there
We'll
we go.
Junior high.
No, this is perfect.
There we go. This is more what you'll see.
Okay. Alrighty. So we fast forwarded a little bit. We're going to rewind a little bit. But as you can see, Corey clicked on an event that has no volunteer set up yet. And so again, once you set up your events, now you can go in and set up your volunteers. And here is where you can set up all of your roles, your role leader, and how many volunteers are needed. So maybe you have something at your church or your organization where you need greeters, or you have a worship team that you need to fill. At my church, we have something called Next Steps. And so whatever that particular role or group that you have set up at your church, you can see, you can keep listing that out. You can even have a role leader for that particular group of people. They can all be different. Now, one thing to keep in mind, as you can see, that role leader has 3 people right there. That list actually comes from your users and roles section. And that is where you'll be able to pull the role leader. And so right now we're just using our demo, so we only have a handful of people, but that list of names is going to be set up in your users and roles. And then you can see volunteers needed. Maybe you have 10 roles. You can see you can keep continuing to add new roles, and it will keep letting you add that specific group. And again, role name, role leader, and the quantity of that. You can also group by teams. Maybe you have like the worship team, and each role then would be each worship section. So a guitar or piano or vocalist. So there really isn't a right or wrong way to set that up. That is a preferred preference on how you at your church or organization set up your particular volunteers. So once you have that, you can go ahead and continue to add volunteers. And you're going to see now that pop up for you to be able to either assign or invite. So we have 2 options for you to get your volunteers set up. Assign, you can see right under that little graphic, it says, I would like to assign my volunteers to specific roles and dates. And so maybe at your church, you're managing that and you know exactly who is ready to volunteer and you want to be able to plug them into the spot. So you would click the assign. So Corey, real quick, go ahead and hit assign. And as you can see right there on the screen are all of the roles and the teams that Corey added. And you can see right now that there are no volunteers currently assigned. And you can see right next to the name of each role, it says 0 out of 1. So we needed 1 guitar player, 1 piano player, 3 singers. And so that is going to help you kind of see, again, how many is needed. On the far right side, you can see now a blue button that allows you to add volunteers. So this, again, is now one of our next steps after we have created an event, after we have added our roles, and you can now begin to search the individuals in your database. Okay, so these are the people that you've already entered into your Breeze People section. That is where your list of people are going to come from, or you can choose from recent volunteers, and those are tags that you can choose. Or like Corey showed us at the beginning, you can just type in a person's name, George Jetson. Yes, that is one of our volunteer names in there. So once you choose your person, you'll see right there, add guitar player. And so Corey's going to click that. And you can see now that one of one spot is filled. You can also see that little circle to the left of his name is grayed out. When George does confirm, that's going to light up green. Or if he declines, that's going to light up red. So if it's grayed out, they've not responded yet. All right, another thing that we're going to show you is that volunteers will receive one reminder option right there. So once you've gone through and you've added all of your volunteers to all of your roles, again, they're going to look a little different depending on your church, but just for example, we filled in guitar player, piano, singer, preacher. And so now we're going to edit that volunteer reminder. And as you can see, you can send up to 3 reminders. And it does tell you right there, sends 3 days, 6 days, 12 days before the event. Again, this is your preferred preference. You can send 1, 2, or 3. And then when you customize that, it's going to allow you to edit the message as well as the timing of that. So you can see a few different options on the screen for you to be able to customize that. You can also see the options at the bottom. Allow volunteers to RSVP to this message. You can also send this as a text message reminder. So not only will everyone receive it by email, but you can also add the ability for them to receive it via email and text message. There's a note at the end of our slide that talks about the text message. It does count towards a Breeze text message, so keep that in mind. There is the ability to do that, but not every church does that, but it does count towards that. And then once you have your preferences set up for that, you would just click done. You can also save it for this event or for the default for the series or for multiple roles. And so if you want that same message, you don't have to go in and customize it each time. You can just click that option and there it is for all of those roles that we have set up. Another thing that you'll notice on this page is in that far right corner where it says send schedules to volunteers. This is a little bit different than the actual reminder. This is actually the schedule with the dates and the roles that they are assigned for. So you can see right there, when you click on that, a little pop-up box says send schedules, all volunteers scheduled on selected events, or specific volunteers, again, depending on the type of event that it is and your volunteers. You can also select different dates. So if you know that George Jetson is one of your key guitar players, you can go ahead and set it up for him to receive that for every Sunday, every other Sunday. Again, you kind of are in charge of setting up and controlling the frequency of that. And then again, you can scroll down and see some additional settings for the message that they receive. It's already set up again to populate the name of the event, but you can customize that. And then again, additional options at the bottom. They will be able to RSVP. You can attach a PDF. And again, another option right there for you to send as text message. But again, that does count towards your text limit. Again, once George accepts or declines, you'll be able to see that on the left side. Another option in this assign mode is, again, on that far right corner, the drop-down arrow next to send schedules to volunteers. There's some additional options that are helpful. Again, you're able to download the schedule in a couple different ways. You're able to email A great feature that I know my church loves is the blockout date request. When you click on that, it does allow volunteers to be able to block out their dates where they are not able to serve. And again, this is super helpful to the leader in charge of setting up volunteers because it does help you plan and set up. All right, I think all of those options, excuse me, are the same for each role. So this is assign mode, and it looks a little bit different than invite mode, but we are going to go ahead and switch views. And again, I apologize if we're going a little fast. There is a lot of content. And so again, anything that we may not cover, you will be able to access all of this within our Breeze Help Center. But we're going to switch to invite mode. And so you can see it looks very similar. But now on that far right corner, you can see something that says manage sign-up sheets. So I know a lot of churches, they want to be able to just send something out and whoever is available, they can go ahead and sign up themselves instead of having that office secretary or the worship leader plug everybody in. This allows you to actually create a sign-up sheet with all of the roles and the dates and have your volunteers select what they are available for. So Corey, if you would go ahead and click on manage sign-up sheets, you can see a brand new option for you to create a new sign-up sheet. Allow people to sign up for any of the following roles. So again, this can be for all of those, or it can just be specific for, again, a particular team or a particular role. And then you can also see below, those are all of your dates for your event. So those, again, those dates are coming from when you first set up your event. Those are the dates of your event. And then you can title the sign-up sheet, again, based off your event. And then again, you are able to do so much customization within all of these areas within our volunteer section. So you can customize the message. And then again, those options at the bottom, similar, allow users to view names of people who have already signed up, allow users to sign up for more than one role, allow users to sign up for roles that they are already filled. So there may be a volunteer who's able to do a couple different things. And then again, that option for them to receive it as a text message. And so again, you can go through, and once you do that and you hit create, you can see right there that right now 0 volunteers have been invited. And so you can see the name of the sign-up sheet, you can see the dates of that event. And then when you click on invite volunteers, you're going to see a similar list to how we had before in our assign mode. And it allows you to be able to search for individuals in your database, or again, your recent volunteers, and then your tags. And so once you are finding your individuals, then you can click their names and you can see right there the option to invite those 3. And once you click that, I'm going to see something similar, 3 volunteers invited. Corey, can you click that drop down arrow next to invite volunteers, please?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So you can see right there, view invited volunteers. And so that's going to show you a list of those that you've already invited. And then again, you can also create a new, oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. Once you click on that, you can see right there that Fred Flintstone viewed. And then you can also resend. Maybe someone didn't see it in their email. Maybe they deleted it. You are able to resend that.
Real quick, the reason it says Fred Flintstone viewed it is I cheated. I went off screen real quick and grabbed it. And Patty's asking what it looks like. Can we just show him the sign-up sheet real quick?
Perfect.
So Fred Flintstone got an email with just a link that said view sign-up sheet, and I clicked that, and this is what he got. So he's able to sign up for whichever ones of these he wants to. And it's just as simple. All he has to do is click this and then submit, and he's signed up. So we'll just do that. So he gets a little thing, thanks, you signed up. He would get an email to confirm it as well. And he can go back anytime with the link in that email to adjust it. So if he finds out he can't do it, he could actually change his mind and submit that change.
Great question.
All right, sorry.
No, that's perfect. That is perfect. So again, and you can create sign-up sheets that have all of those roles like we just did, or you can do one for each section. So you could just do one for guitar or piano. Again, there's that flexibility in there and the ability to have more opportunities to customize and fit the needs of your specific organization or church. You can also delete and edit that. And there are all those options.
There is also a preview. I should have done that. Jake mentioned that in the chat. You can preview this yourself as well, rather than having to go and find it from the person. This is what it would look like.
That's a good option to preview before you go ahead and send it out and make sure that you have what you need.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jake. And so again, once you set up those roles or those teams, again, you may not have a lot of different teams. You don't have to have a team. It just depends on how you have your volunteer set up at your church. But you see that we can toggle between invite and assign mode. So we didn't have to go back and change anything within our roles or within our team. We have that already set up. And so you can toggle between the two. And again, there's no right or wrong way. Some churches love to just plug in their volunteers. Some love to create the sign-up sheets. And so you can choose whichever one that you like. On the left side, there is an option for grid view. And again, that just gives you a different view. I personally like the list view, but I know that there are some people that love the grid view. And so you can click on that and you can see it laid out. And you can see the dates, almost like a calendar, for you to be able to plug in. And so that's an option, again, for you to be able to add. And you can see right there at the top, or when you hover, you can add volunteers straight from this screen. And it gives you that option again, that pop-up box for you to search for individuals. Again, they have to be in your people section already added to Breeze for them to pop up, or recent volunteers or tags, and then you can add them straight from this screen. And then they are on that calendar for that date. And then again, if you didn't really like grid view, you could just toggle back and that volunteer is still going to show up on your list. And they'll show up.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I drug him to the next week, so I needed to go to the next one.
There you go. And again, you can see we keep adding some in on the far right corner. Again, I keep making Corey go back and forth. You can see 4 needed still and 2 assigned. So it does keep track for you so that you know. And you can also add more than what is needed. But that allows you, that red number allows you to see what you still need. And again, Corey, could you, are you able to click on one of those volunteers and decline so they can just see, they'll let you do that from that screen so that they can see the difference if somebody declines. There we go. So it will cross that out and it will show you a red dot and you can see that number goes back to 0.
Right.
It will also change green if they have accepted it. It will also alert the leader of that team. So whoever you have set up to be over those volunteers or over that team or over that role, they will receive an email letting you know so that that position can then be refilled. One additional thing when you are adding volunteers, Corey, I think if we try to add George Jetson to another role, I
Oh, yeah.
believe it will show you this. So Corey's going to try to add somebody that is already volunteering. And you can see right there, it's real tiny, but underneath his name, it says potential conflict. So that will allow you to be able to realize that someone is already filling another spot. Or I know at my church, sometimes a volunteer can do 2 volunteer positions depending on what it is. They may be able to greet at the door, but then be on stage for worship during church. And so there really isn't a potential conflict. And sometimes there really is. And so you'll be able to see right then. Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to breathe for just 1 minute and see how we're doing on time, see how we're doing on questions. Thank y'all so much for being with us as we're toggling so many places. There really is a lot to unpack within volunteer management, but some really amazing features that will help you streamline your volunteers and get you all set up and ready for your congregation each week. Let's see, any other tabs or drop downs on this screen that we missed? I'm thinking and as you can see within Breeze in general, there's always a drop down arrow. So if you don't see something at first, be sure to click on those drop down arrows. You'll always see some more options within that. Yes, we did click on a block out
Right.
calendar or feature. Yep. So they'll see that. And then again, if for some reason you didn't want to do a managed sign up sheet, you can switch back to assign mode. And all of that is going to stay how you have it set up. The amount of volunteers you need, who declined.
I'll just point out real quickly this drop down arrow, one thing we didn't mention. So at the very start, if you remember, we typed in all of these roles, but let's say that now I needed to modify it. It is a little bit hidden. You go into this drop down here and click modify roles, and that's where it takes you right back to the same thing you had at the start. And you can add a new team if you needed to do that, or a new role, and get that taken care of. This is I think the most important team at every church, the coffee crew.
It really is. If you're a coffee drinker, are you a iced coffee drinker or a hot coffee drinker? Let me know in the chat. You're an iced coffee drinker or a warm coffee drinker. I think it depends on the season for me.
Definitely.
But you're right, a hospitality crew. And so that was perfect, Corey, because as you can see, it did not affect anything. Ooh, chai. I do sometimes like chai, but so good. I wish I had some coffee right now. But that's great. What happens, Corey, if we take out the title of the team? If you go back and edit and you just remove like
right.
worship team.
You want me to just leave it blank?
Or
you mean to get rid of it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe I just don't want to have teams and I just want no roles, or just roles.
Right. If you do this, it's going to remove the roles that are associated with the team as well. That's what this can you see the little box? Actually, the way that Zoom works, you might not be able to see this. There's a little error message or warning message that popped up asking if I'm sure I want to delete the team, because it'll also remove all the roles associated with the team. So if I click that, it will get rid of the guitar player, piano singer, and preacher.
Right. So you would have lost all that hard work. So, but you can do what you just did with the hospitality team and go in and continue to add more.
Right.
So that will be helpful. If there is ever something, it didn't pop up for me in my Zoom, but within Breeze, not just specifically in volunteer management, but there are pop-up boxes and red warning boxes throughout
Right.
several places in Breeze. And so I would encourage you so kindly to please read that before you make any major changes. It is heartbreaking for us when we are trying to serve you and we realize that that did take place. We'll do everything we can to help you get it back. But there are a few places just like this that if you make that change, it would completely wipe all of your hard work and there wouldn't be a way we could get that particular setup back. But there are places where you can go in and edit and add. Another thing to keep in mind too, I know again, we're specifically talking about volunteer management, but because it is housed under events, should you have to make changes within your events, there will be a pop-up box, a red warning that does mention that you would lose some changes. So I highly recommend just double checking, triple checking your event details first. Make sure you have the right time, the right date as you're setting that up first before you go in and do all of your hard work of setting up all your volunteers, because one tiny change to your actual event settings could again wipe all of that hard work. And we know that you already do so much hard work at your churches on a daily basis. So we want to save you that little tip right there. All right. I think, if you go back to this event, Corey, junior high youth group, just on the calendar, it should also, if you hover over it, it would just show you how many volunteers are there as well.
Yes. And actually, I think this is the one. Oh, it's this one. Oops. This is the check-in. Actually, I don't think it does show the volunteers. Oh, there we go. It's because there's only the one. There's only one that's been confirmed. That's right.
Yep. So that just gives you, again, if you're a number person or you're in charge of having to fill spots, you just quickly see, oh, we only have one volunteer. Those junior high youth group kids are a lot to handle. We need a whole bunch more volunteers. And so that would give you just a quick glance. But again, if you click on that event, junior high youth group, you're going to see all of your settings for events and volunteers again in the far right section. And you'll click on that again and it will just open up everything that you have already set up. You'll see all of the options. And again, you'll know which mode that you're in, if you are in assign mode or if you are in invite mode, by that far right corner. That far right corner will switch to manage sign-up sheets if you're in invite mode. And then it will say send schedules to volunteers if you're in assign mode.
I just realized this is junior high youth group. What are we doing giving these kids coffee? I'm so sorry. That was a terrible idea.
Oh, goodness. That's the fun part of having a Breeze demo is you can go in and just create all of the things that you can dream up of. But real quick, before we do Q&A, I just want to go all the way back to the beginning real quick. Corey, could you just start at the beginning real quick, events as if we had never set up volunteers, just for anybody that might have just jumped in real quick. So again, very first step before creating your roles and teams and quantity of volunteers is you're going to navigate to the events page inside of Breeze, and then you're going to set up your event. And again, make sure you have the right time, the right date for that. Once you create your event, it is going to give you those options for your settings. One of those settings is volunteers in the right corner. There are two modes, assign mode and invite mode, but you create your volunteer roles first. And again, you can have one role, you could have 6 roles, you could have 2 or 3 different teams. And again, within our documentation and in our Breeze University, we do have videos and examples of how to set this up. But if you do have any specific questions, depending on your organization, send us an email and one of our advocates would be more than happy to help you get that set up. But you can see right there, we just have one And it's the same options, the same settings. Those do not change based on your roles. They're all the same there. The notifications, the reminders, where you pull your list of people, your block out dates, how you customize emails, how you modify roles. Those options are all there once you set up your event. One last thing that I always like to remind, especially new Breeze, if you're new, welcome. We're thrilled that you chose Breeze. Is volunteers management is specific to your event. So if you have a children's service and then you have a Sunday morning worship service, you will have to go into each event separately and set up different volunteers. They do not carry over because they're different events. And so every church is going to have different events. Every organization is going to have different types of volunteers. And so you will have to go in and set up volunteers specifically for that event. I hope that makes sense. All right. We've gone for about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I believe we did cover everything. I know it's a lot to unpack, and for some of you, we may have gone a little fast. For some of you, we may have gone a little slow. Thanks for watching. We're going to leave it open, and we're going to make sure that we have all of your questions. Just a few other things that we kind of highlighted. Again, text messages sent from volunteers will count towards the text limit. There is an option within the people profile for them to enable do not text, but they will still receive it for volunteer management. All of the event reminders that the volunteers will receive will have a blockout date at the bottom of them. And then volunteers are able to easily change their volunteer RSVP by clicking on RSVP to request it in the original email they received. And again, if they didn't receive an email, or they lost that email rather, you can go in and manually resend it. You might remember when Corey pulled that up, there was an option for you to resend that. And they will be able to get that again.
You could just do it to one person if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and you can also check your, well, history is user specific, but you would be able to see if they received it, but you can always, and again, for more information, you can go to our knowledge center. Jake might have already linked that for you, but he might link it again, and you can see everything we talked about. We have articles. Some of you are readers. We have really detailed articles that our team has written that walk you step by step, so you can view at your own pace and read at your own pace. And it will, again, walk you step by step, both in assign mode and in invite mode. And again, maybe you're brand new and you don't know all the ins and outs of Breeze. There is an article for every section of Breeze, again, specifically over events, because again, volunteer management is housed under that. So you'd want to know how to get your event set up. We have videos and articles about that. And Jake, if you could, I think you did link that. They're asking question at Breeze University, but support at breezechms.com. If you send us an email, you might get to talk to me or Jake, or any of our amazing advocates, and they are going to be able to help you again if you get stuck setting those up. But any questions right now, Jake, that Corey and I can help either show or answer?
Oh, that's a great question there. I just received one very recently here that is a really great one. Can there be more than one role leader per role?
Great question. Do you want to pull back up where we set up roles?
Yeah, absolutely.
So for that particular role, preacher, there can only be one role leader for that. But if you added another role, like, yeah, there we go, creator, you can choose that role leader again for that. And again, those role leaders, if you remember earlier at the beginning of the video, those leaders, the list for those leaders come from your users and role section. So if you do not see someone on that list, we want to encourage you to navigate to the settings and go to users and roles. And here's where you can add your users. One thing we didn't show them either, I just thought of this because there's so much. If you go to roles, real quick, Corey. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes, under users and roles.
Yep. So we want to make sure you have those permissions set up. So you can click on any of those or add new role. Under events, you'll want to make sure that that option is listed.
Right.
Selected rather. And then if you scroll down to my profile, Corey, if you do have your congregation set up to access Breeze, under their my profile option, there will be an option for them to view their volunteer schedule within their profile. So
Yeah.
if for some reason you're watching and you're in your Breeze account and you don't see an option that we have shown you, you may want to check your users and roles to make sure you have permissions. Or maybe if you're not the one that is completely over Breeze, you'll want to talk to your church admin about that to make sure that they give you the right permissions needed. And again, if you get stuck, email us. But you can see right there from the profile, George Jetson, his upcoming events. And then on the far right corner, again, manage blackout dates.
And
there's an option right there.
If that my profile, if George had an account with that my profile thing checked, then he would be able to log in and he would see this himself. So he could see everything that he was scheduled on for.
Very good, very good. Any other questions you noted, Jake? About just a few minutes left, trying to go through all of them as well.
Yeah, so I noticed another one, it snuck in the chat as well. I think we touched on this briefly during our webinar here, but what happens if you delete a role or a team for an event? Do all the previous data and all the volunteers, are they removed for that? What happens to that information if that role is deleted?
Great question. We'll show you. So Corey will open that back up and we'll go back into our events. Modify rules.
Oops. There we go.
So if we delete, yep.
Piano, how about? Oops. Okay, it's gone.
I also love seeing all the, sorry.
So now you'll see he's gone. And that had George Jetson had been scheduled for piano. So when that's deleted, it does disappear.
That's correct. And that is one of the things that we can't get back, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not able to be.
So just a fun fact that I always encourage our customers as well. Again, so friendly and kindly. Remember who you have in charge of adding these things, and remind them that certain things that they delete can't get back. So make sure you don't give everyone just access to edit things within your Breeze account too. But fun little tip. Let's see. Please say, oh, if you delete a role, that's correct. Right. Any other questions? Okay, I think that last one just came in. I know, again, there's been a lot of questions, but there isn't a way at this time to duplicate the roles that are needed, because essentially two children's services would act as two separate events on the Breeze calendar. And so it would have to be all set up again.
Right.
Unfortunately. Perfect. Alrighty. Anything else, Jake, that we didn't catch?
I think we have one more here that is worth noting. It's more of an events question, but it feeds heavily into what we're looking at here. Special services like Good Friday or Christmas, Easter, things like that, that may not fall on a Sunday or outside of the normal programming hour for Sunday. What happens with moving events around or creating extra events around that? What happens with volunteer schedules, and what do you do to rebuild out those volunteers there?
Excuse me.
Yeah, I think that so that's a great question. Basically, if it's something that's going to happen outside of this normal flow of the recurring events that you may have set up, like every Sunday morning or things like that, then you have to set it up as its own event, which will require going in and adding those volunteer sections specifically for that event. And there are certainly cases where that may be some extra work, although I will say for myself, usually whenever we've done special events, almost always it has totally different needs anyway. I know that was something that I often found when I was scheduling a lot was even if I could have copied it, like, for a Good Friday service, it's a different time, it's different service. There's almost always different needs, but unfortunately, yeah, that is it. You'd have to create it as its own event.
I had one more question come in, and this is a good one too. We may have covered this. I may have been answering a question. How to schedule volunteers for recurring events and then have a single volunteer scheduled for future events on a recurring series.
So I didn't actually show the process of making the event. We just picked these ones that sort of already existed in our demo account. So I'm
Wait, let me
actually
clarify that. I'm sorry.
go
I
ahead.
think this may be a different question. I didn't ask that very well. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
So to set up a volunteer in a recurring event that already exists on a recurring series. So scheduling a single volunteer for multiple events in the future.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. So in this case, let's say we have this
Mhm.
children's service that obviously it has some future ones here. If we go into that and go into volunteers, you can see this is this individual event that's happening on April. Well, happened in the past, but we'll pretend it's the future. And so you could add someone here. You can go up here. You can actually navigate to the next event or the previous event in this series and get an individual one. So now we're on April 14th. You could schedule, and you could do that each individual one at a time. But if it's the same person that you want to schedule across multiple, it's probably fastest to use what we showed you earlier with this grid view. And grid view shows you all of the occurrences of this event in the series where you can add volunteers. So in this case, if we've got Jason Bourne and we are letting him preach for some reason, if we could add him, it's really fast to do from this view if we just click through each week, and we can add them on for whichever ones are needed in the future.
And if Jason Bourne did have a blackout date, when you go to schedule it, it will pop up. And Jake, we have an article actually that talks all about this. If you could find it and link it, volunteer management blackout dates, it will show a little pop-up box that says this person has indicated they are unable to volunteer on this date. So it would show you, Heather, that, and it would allow you to be able to bypass him and fill that spot. And so if they have indicated that on their own, it's going to pop up. So I hope that was your question. I hope we answered it. So, and Jake just dropped that link. And again, if you are in our help center section, you're going to see all of our volunteer articles. They are listed by topic. So we have an article specifically about invite mode. We have an article specifically about assign mode. We have an article about reminders specifically. And so if you just search those topics, you're going to see an article for that. Jake just posted that in the webinar chat, the article. So
Jake, that was posted to the just to the hosts. You'll need to repost that to everyone.
Great catch. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
So I just blocked out Jason for this date, and just, you can see this is what happens if he's unavailable on a date. You get this little red thing, and again, it doesn't show through Zoom, but when I click this, a message pops up that actually says they've said that they're unavailable on this date. Are you sure you want to schedule them anyway? So trying to save you from scheduling someone that, you know, that's gone on vacation.
Absolutely. Alrighty, well, we are nearing the time, and I know a few more of you are trying to add some more questions in there. For the sake of everyone, we're going to close this here in about 2 minutes, but I just wanted to remind you again that you can email us at support@breezechms.com, and that will go directly to our Breeze team, and one of our advocates, like Jake, or another advocate on our team, will receive that, and they'll be able to answer your question. We also have a Facebook users group that you can join and find, and you'll see many other churches and organizations on there who give their own ideas of how they are using Breeze. They also chat and talk through possible solutions if they come up with an issue. And so that's a very helpful place to meet people, to encourage people to help, to see what everyone is doing. And so you can either email, join that, we will help you. Again, this recording, once it's done processing, it will be emailed to you, and you'll be able to rewatch this and have this information. And again, you will also be able to access details about each section in Breeze on our Help Center and at Breeze University. And so we have all of the different types of resources out there to help you. Thank you so much for tuning in today and for listening to us and for watching us. We really appreciate that you are all users of Breeze. And I just wanted to personally say thank you to each of you and your role at your church or organization. I know sometimes it is a job that you don't get thanked enough. And so I just wanted to personally say thank you for what you do for your church, whether you are a lead pastor, worship leader, secretary, whatever role that you fill at your church. Thank you. Whether you're a volunteer, we appreciate you. And so thanks for tuning in. Corey, you got anything left? Jake, you got anything left?
No, just, yeah, you covered it. Thanks, you guys. You're awesome. Really appreciate you and all the work that you guys do.
Yep. And thank you, Jake, for answering our chat. Thank you, Corey, for leading the way and everything. And we hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.